Well, welcome to the show where passion replaces X's and O's and logic is replaced by pure bias. This is Buzzer Beater, our third and final edition of the Championship Series where we pit the New Zealand Breakers up against the Sydney Kings. And, well, I'm not sure how I'm going to try and keep these two apart. I said that in the second episode. I stand no chance in the third episode, so I will introduce them. And at the risk of him cracking the sads for the third time, I will introduce Brad Rosen, the former captain of the Sydney Kings, first this time around. Hello, Brad.
Wow, I didn't deserve that. That's fantastic. Thanks, Jack. I really appreciate that.
And the voice of the New Zealand Breakers from Sky Sport, Andrew Mulligan. Miles, great to have you with us again.
Thanks for having me back, guys. I was like this on Sunday night. I was waiting for the email from Jack. Say, let's go round again, fellas. So here we are.
I was out there at the end of the fourth quarter. Let's do this again.
I actually think, and it was suggested to me, I actually think Brad's reply was that quick that I feel like he had it saved in his drafts, ready to go. Can we do one more episode? So here we are.
It was a five-letter paste. Boom, straight in. Let's go.
Righto. So if you are watching Buzzer Beater for the first time, we give the boys the best part of 60 seconds to answer a couple of questions each about the series. As I said, there is no logic. There is no research or analysis behind this. This is pure passion. This is pure bias. Two gentlemen talking about the teams that they love dearly. So thank you for being with us. Let's go. Let's start with you, Miles, because I introduced Brad first. So you don't get everything.
Yes, we do. We're Sydney. We get everything we want.
Oh, we know. Trust us. We know.
Everything we want.
Let's start with New Zealand because they won Game 4. Miles, who is favourite going into Game 5?
It's the Breakers, without a doubt. And the reason why is because they did the best adjustments. They rode the physicality out of the gym in Game 4. They got pounded in Game 3. They got taught a lesson in Game 3. They unraveled in Game 3. But now they're tightly coiled. They are ready to spring and they are ready to pounce in Game 5. Because they have beaten Sydney already twice on that home floor. Not many teams have done it. Not many people can do it. It's a great arena. It was full. Will it be full again? Maybe. Who cares? They will zone out. In fact, they will talk. They love to talk. And that's why the Breakers, they've got their backs up. And Sydney have their backs against the wall. And that's the main thing.
Jack, that is his end-of-season speech for the New Zealand Breakers. We did beat them twice on the floor. We did do amazing. We got belted in Game 3 and Game 2, but we did unbelievable. We just couldn't get over the hurdle. We will be fine against the 8 New Zealand players on the floor. We will not have to deal with that. It will be fine. And we are ready for what they're going to bring. Bring on back to back.
I was waiting for it. I knew it wouldn't take long, so let's just roll with it. And by the way, Brad, thanks for popping out of the call centre and chatting to us once again. We really appreciate it. What's going on with the officiating, Brad? Give us a Sydney perspective.
Well, it's simple. There wasn't any. It was as simple as that. I mean, it's just we got smashed. Now, there's all this talk, it happened and we lost this and we did. No. The referees struggled in Game 3. They struggled in Game 4, and we lost the game. It's okay. That's that is your end of season speech getting ready, Andrew. I've got it.
You having is this just for the whinge? Do you guys have tissues in
I
Sydney?
got them anyway.
The whinge about the referees. Is that what we're doing again?
Mine's already on there, but mine looks a little bit different. I don't know if you can see that New Zealand on there. So that's. Look, as long as there's not, 4 or 5 referees, 3 we can deal with, right? As long as there's not 4 or 5, we'll be fine. Chase has got this, mate. He's fine. He's wound. He's happy. It's us versus the world. It's our 18,000 people at Kudos, plus the 10, 12 players on the court, assistant coaches. That's it. Everyone else. Commentators, New Zealand, Perth, Canberra, Tasmania, defend the island. It doesn't matter. It is us versus the world, and that's what we want.
Andrew, what about the officiating?
The officiating was absolutely spot on in Game 4. I thought they refereed an excellent game. I thought Mabry, Aylan, and Hare were on point. I thought that they let the game go, and they let it go to a point where it has to come down to a Game 5. Not that they wanted it to, but I felt like they were too tightly called. in games 1 through 4. And I felt as though they needed to, games 1, 2, 3. But games 4 and 5 will be completely different from each other as well. How that first quarter plays out will set the tone for the rest of the game because they have to adjust. Every team does, no matter if it's Sydney, New Zealand, whoever. They always adjust in that first quarter, as long as they stay consistent in the second half, because that is the main reason why Sydney won that game 3. And the main reason they lost game 4 is they didn't adjust to the referees. And they, like Xavier Cooks pulling down Derek Pardon, that's not what Xavier Cooks does. He's above that kind of stuff. But they got under their skin, and I love to see it.
Well, I do agree. I mean, when you fall, and this is like, aerodynamic stuff now, you tend to have to, when people push you, right? When they get pushed to the ground, you tend to have to grab something because you're like, oh my God, I'm getting pushed to the ground so quickly.
I see. He's always just trying to find a way to make this work. I'm not sure what that...
Yeah, that's where... But, as I said, when you fall, you just got to grab something. But look, the only thing Save will be grabbing on tomorrow night will be that championship. That's all.
Well, it's funny you mention that about Xavier Cooks. He's got injuries to deal with and is having a hard time dealing with it, no question about that. His numbers are down across the season. He is the season's MVP. And, of course, he's got the NBA coming up shortly with the Washington Wizards. Is Xavier Cooks cooked?
Oh, please, come on, man. He's just waiting for game 5. He knew what was going to go on. He's like, if I'm going to go to New Zealand and have to play against 8 people, I'll just see you Wednesday. That's all it was. So he is absolutely fine. He is going to show tomorrow night why the Washington team got him into the NBA. It's very rare for a guy to go from this position into a team without playing in the NBA previously. Bogut did it a few years ago, but look what he'd done, right? But to take a guy that is a rookie and give him a 2-year deal, there is a reason. And that reason is that he is a back-to-back champion captain of the team that needed to go. And that's what's going to happen tomorrow night.
He was just in the wrong terminal. He was in the departure lounge, and he thought he was in. He thought he was in. He thought he was heading to. He was on some United flight or Qantas flight on the international one to Los Angeles, then on to Dallas Airport. I feel as though he is literally counting down the days. He has proven himself. He does not need to prove himself anymore. That knee is hampering him. In the back of his mind, he's trying to suppress it, but I feel as though he doesn't want to get any more hurt and doesn't want to push that knee too far. He had it strapped up in game 4. He was adjusting the tape all through the game. I kept an eye on that. And I feel like that's playing on his mind somewhat as well. And that physicality of the Breakers defense around him, they're doing a great job of picking him up in his spots. And they're making sure that he's having to look right over the top. Not just like he can because he's so graceful with the ball in hand, but he's really having to work with offloads and going to the glass.
I love the way you're thinking, us versus them. Keep going.
If anyone's talking about us versus them, it started with the Sydney Kings. So they were the ones that originated this. Hey, championship MVP. We're 4 games in. We haven't had I don't think, a super standout for the championship MVP, or have we, Mulls?
Yeah, look, I have been talking to Casey Frank. He's on the voting panel. He won't tell me who he's voting for, but it's pretty obvious because Justin Simon had a lot to do with Sydney's wins, right? There's 2 wins. He was insane in game 3.
Hang on, you're not picking one of the refs? Oh. Well, sorry, I thought that's what we were asking. Oh, you're talking players. Sorry, keep going. My bad.
Oh my goodness.
Give it to Vaughan Mabry. Let him have it. Give it. And Mitch and Michael Aylen can go up and help him.
I think Chase Buford would love to give it to Vaughan Mabry.
Yeah, that's true, actually, Brad. I will agree with you for once on the show. That's great.
Brad, what about you? Leave the men in green aside for a second. Who's the championship MVP?
Right now, I think it's between 3 people in New Zealand, and if New Zealand win, they're not going to, but if they felt that they were going to win tomorrow night, it'll come down to who wins that game for them. For Sydney, Simon, the only one that could win it. He's been tremendous all series. I think he'd have to fall over and not play to not win it tomorrow night. If New Zealand, fell over the line and the 8 of them got the win, I'd anticipate that to be, Brantley, William McDowell White. It'll come from there, no question. Brown, obviously. So to me, I think Brown's the key. He is that. He's got that attitude that I love. Like, I hate you. and give me the ball and I will go get this done. That's what I like. So I think, that's where it will come from if New Zealand win. But I mean, we're talking, cattle stations here. So it'll be solid.
I want to finish with two questions that I asked you on the first episode that we're going to finish off the third and final episode with. Firstly, who is the most important player for your team going into Game 5, Brad?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I'm going to stick with the same guy I've stuck with the whole time, DJ. He has struggled the whole time. I thought he was pretty decent at home in Game 3. Hit some shots and really missed a few, and he got frustrated. Then that dagger hit, he went bang, bang, and you could just feel the whole arena, 18,000, which is double what New Zealand had, all 18,000 of them just rose unbelievably, and it just lifted the Kings. If he gets going, this series is done. Game 5, it's ours, no question. He is the most important key because I think Cooks will give what Cooks gives. We know Walton will do it. Simon will do it. Glover's been great. All of those things. But to me, DJ's the key.
Yeah, for the Breakers, I think it's going to have to be Will McDowell-White again. How he goes on offense, he had it on a string through the game in Game 4. He really controls everything that they do. Derek Pardon, I expect him to be really good on the glass. He hasn't been as effective as he has been through the regular season. He doesn't care. He still runs so hard. He still sets big picks. He does everything to the nth degree, which I love about Derek Pardon. But Will McDowell-White, he's finding everybody. And, that adjustment that I talked about that they needed to make with Le'afa, I can't believe I actually got something right for once. They actually did it. Yeah. But it gives them a two-way player in Le'afa, whereas Rupert and Abercrombie, they're not shot makers or shot takers necessarily. Like Tom Rupert will take it, but it's not the greatest basketball shot within the scheme of the offense. But with Le'afa, you've got a dog. You've got a guy with a mongrel streak who will body up, who will take the shot, and he will keep shooting like DJ will have to try and do as well for the Kings. So for me, Will McDowell-White, I mean, it's a simple, straightforward answer.
Well, of course, he's a Sydney boy. You wouldn't expect anyone else.
It's not even your turn, and you're still chiming in.
Sydney boy.
And
he's already claiming it. Sorry, Jack. He's already claiming it.
He's unbelievable. And the last question is the very last question I asked you both on the first episode, and that is, if your team wins, who is the better story?
Well, you know what, Andrew? Because it won't happen, I'll let you go first.
It is undoubtedly the Breakers. Before you joined our broadcast, we had 15 minutes in New Zealand on Sky Sport, and I did a little piece to camera, and we had 9,742. Not quite the Kudos Bank Arena full house, but they were twice as loud, so it doesn't really matter. But the juxtaposition of them, in January 14th, 2022, they had one fan registered at My State Bank Arena when they were locked down there in Tasmania. One fan. And this time round, they had those 9,000, almost 10,000 people in there. That is such a story that they've re-engaged their fan base. They have brought everybody back to Spark Arena. Everybody was like, oh, the Breakers, geez, what a bit of a dumpster fire it was the last two seasons. But for them to virtually overhaul that roster and become that fairy tale and win the last game of the season to get banner number 5, to raise that before next season starts, that is going to be fantastic. It's such a great story.
Look, I think it's a fantastic story that you won Game 4 to get it to Game 5. That's the story you guys can go with and stick with, and I think it's fantastic. We were out of the league for 2 years. We got rid of our coach. We took it to Game 5. We had to, get some refs on side and play 8 players, but we got there, right? But in Game 5, we just went to, we didn't have 9,000 people. That's half the crowd that we got. We got 18,000 people. We've been going since 1985. We are the best team in the best city, in the best league. There is no question about that. I think New Zealand, like Tasmania last year, what a fantastic story. And I think a lot of people will talk about you guys next year, and hopefully they can go one better. And for New Zealand, I hope that will happen. But for the Sydney Kings, there is no story. We are the story. That's it. We did it against all the odds. Everyone was against us. Doesn't matter. Sydney Kings.
Gentlemen, May the best team win. Although, based on what I've just heard, I feel like I'm almost going for New Zealand. I think Andrew sold his story a lot better than yours, Brad.
Absolutely everyone outside of Sydney. Keep doing it.
No, we don't care. I certainly don't care who wins. But may the best team win. You two have been absolutely superb throughout this championship series. So thank you very much for your time. And I think there might be a bit of post-season making up between you two as well. You've gone pretty hard in the last few weeks.
I will say one thing. Both of you, actually, your calls are outstanding. You make it. It's unbelievable. I'm sitting watching those games. It's brilliant. That call on Sunday, Andrew, outstanding. Was unbelievable. Friday, Jack, outstanding. You guys are making it. Well done.
We're just doing our
Thanks,
best,
Brad.
Miles, aren't we? We're just doing our best.
Yeah, mate. And to you, Jack, enjoy yourself, mate. Game 5, how good. Have a great call.
Cannot wait for it. Thank you so much, boys. It's been a pleasure right across the series.